say this whenever I start one of these. This is just for me though. You guys can ask me anything that you want. Try to embarrass me. It cannot happen. I do not get embarrassed. I'm shameless. I may not answer any question you ask. I may say no. But go ahead. It makes it fun, and you can ask anything you want. But that's just me. Probably show more respect to the other two guys.
Don't show any respect at all. I'm not sure.
Why should anything change?
I was wondering if there was ever anything one of your co-stars got to do that you wished you could have done.
Sarah got to do, Buffy got to do Spike, and I was always I had to walk in that basement for like 3 days. I gave her some drinks, but vampires don't pass out on tranquilizers, and I was like, fall asleep already.
To do everything and everybody, so I don't think that there's anything that, I got enough. My plate was full enough, I think.
It would have been fun to have been Buffy a few times.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi. So myself, as I'm sure everyone in this room absolutely adores Mr. Whedon. But I also kind of want to hit him in the face for all the emotional pain he's caused me. Has that been your experience working with him?
Loving him and wanting to hit him in the face at the same time?
Yeah.
What's your relationship like with your father? There's something much deeper here that we should be getting into. I think it's any relationship in your life, to be honest with you. There's much more joy than non-joy.
Yeah. I think, like, storytelling is a vicarious experience, it is inherently safe, and so you can get scared, but you're safe. You can kind of fall in love, but you're safe. But you don't want it to be all positive. You want to have those lows. You want to have that pain. So the vicarious experience is a full one. And so I suspect that if Joss didn't do those things that you say broke your heart, he didn't really break your heart. If he didn't do those things, it wouldn't be as full of an experience. So,
very true.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
But he was trying to hurt you. He really, really was. He was so angry that the WB announced that Spike was going over on Angel before he killed me off on Buffy. He was like, damn it, wanted them all to cry.
What are your favorite memes in Buffy? Like, your favorite overall moral or theme?
Good question.
It's early.
I mean, basically, Buffy was a coming-of-age story, and so the filter that you were watching it through changed, particularly as everybody got older. So the morality, for me, was so black and white in the early seasons. Good was good, bad was bad. It was easy to tell, And then as she gets older, as everybody got older, it becomes far more gray, and you realize that it's a window into how much more complex life is, and the right thing to do isn't always easy. It isn't always clear. So for me, the morality changed and got much more complicated and much more gray, much more true to adult life as it went on.
Yeah. Thematically, for my character, it was you didn't need powers to be powerful. you know, the power of listening, the power of observing is just as important as the power of making fireballs come.
I think, yeah, I mean, at the base of it is and I never really thought about what you were talking about, but you're right. But in the beginning, in the beginning, it was how do you get through adolescence? You know, because in adolescence you figure out that the world is messed up, that your parents are kind of idiots, and that your teachers only half understand the things that they're teaching you. And how do you realize that and then not give up in the face of it? How do you keep trying? I think that's the theme of Buffy, is don't give up. But you're right, the morality question. Thank God, because otherwise I would have been killed off immediately. Gray area!
And also, if ever you contract herpes, tell your next partner right away that you have that disease.
Thank you, Nick. Pearls for the day.
Yeah, you are it.
That was an allergy to medicine, by the way.
Okay, so my other question, it's not a question, well it is. Could you do an improv for us, just like in your characters?
Oh, God, there's no way right now I can do it. I couldn't even imagine doing that right now.
Where's Zeus? There we go. I refuse. I don't do the accent anymore. I've moved on with my life.
I'll just sit here quietly and be supportive.
Somebody came up to me in my line a couple days ago, the autograph line, and she said her favorite line. I guess Santa had so many great lines, and I guess Cordelia had just been kidnapped and sent the letter, and it said, they're gonna make a meal. So it's like they're gonna cook Cordelia or something. They're gonna make a meal for him. Like, oh, so she's fine, guys. They're gonna make her dinner. They're gonna cook her, eat her. Like, it's fine that night tonight.
Hi, this question is for James. I met you one time in New Orleans, and you answered a really good question for us, and we have a follow-up to that.
You haven't given it much thought at all.
Only people that probably asked him this question. And everyone will be upset about this question. But we talked about Dragon Ball evolution, and what I really need to know is will they ever make Dragon Ball Z? We know that you said you really liked playing Piccolo. Will they ever pick it up? TV, movie, it doesn't matter. Will they?
I think it's possible that they'll make a Dragon Ball Z, but I do not think they'll use the producer that did Dragon Ball. I think it'll be a complete reboot, and they'll start from scratch. So I'll have to go audition again, but I would love to go. I'll give it a shot. But yeah, you're not gonna. It's dead. The movie didn't do very well. I remember, this is a good story. I remember I took my two kids to see the movie, and my son was so excited because he grew up on Dragon Ball Z, and he was so excited. He let us in. He let us into the theater, and I was just thinking, man, just please, my kids with me. It's opening day, please, big audience, please. And packed. It was a packed audience, and there were like all of these young guys in there, and you couldn't even really get 3 seats together, and we finally kind of got 3 seats close to each other, and I'm looking around, and I'm just, a little voice inside my head just goes, this is too good to be true. And I turned to the dude, this 13-year-old next to me, and I'm like, hey man, is this Dragon Ball? And he's like, what? Is this Dragon Ball, man? No, this is Fast and Furious, man. So I have to get my 2 kids up, and we walk across the hall, we see Dragon Ball, and as we were opening the door, I'm just like, please, man, just half an audience, please. Half full would be fine. Just don't embarrass me in front of my kids. Universe, please. There were like 2 other people. So, the film did well in Asia, I think. But not too great here.
This is kind of a question for everybody, but if you've read, I wanted to ask if you've read the Buffy comic books with the continuation of the series, and if you've liked how your characters have developed in that.
I have read. I'm going to stop talking.
No, go.
I've read some of it, and I think it's fabulous. Apparently, I was talking to David Fury about this, and apparently Joss has tried to get, he's tried to go back and like do like a Xander television movie or do a Spike television movie, or he has wanted to come back and revisit the characters and keep working on it, but every time he tries, the Kazuis ruin it. They are the people that produced the original film, and when Joss signed that contract, he had no power at all. So the Kazuis got a great contract, and they got the rights to all Buffy characters that come out of that universe. So they were on paper producers of the television show, although they didn't have any say in anything, but they did get paid out. But apparently, whenever Joss has tried to go back and film anything, they come in and demand so much money and control that it just blows up before he can ever get a camera on anything. So that's why he is, doing comics. That's why a lot of the writers go back and write the comics, is because they love the characters, they love the situations, and comics gives them the ability to explore. So I'm like, awesome, because as much as those writers can keep going back to those characters, I mean, they're all like producing some of the biggest shows in Hollywood, but whenever I talk to them, like David Fury's like, yeah, 24 is great, but I just want a demon to come out and rip some of these. They really do. So yeah, I love the comics. They're great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. I look great. I like the eye patch. It's almost like Joss knew that it was going to be a comic, He's like, well, that has to do with an eye patch. That's Xander. My love life situation, I think it's fine. I'm totally fine with the Dawn Xander relationship.
You what?
Yeah.
You dog.
Yeah, we've been.
Will she always be 12 teeth though?
No, well, I saw her in she did a spread in FHM. She's not 12 anymore. Yeah, we've been scissoring for a while.
I'm sorry, man. She's 40 years old. I will think of her as...
Not unless she was in front of me.
All right.
Then you'd be like, you're not 12 anymore, right?
All right.
About my mother.
I've had my eye on you for a long time.
My question is about fan fiction, particularly for you, James. First off, have you read any?
What?
Fan fiction, have you read any?
No, I haven't. It's too nasty. I am not easily embarrassed, but no. I think it's awesome that it's written, though. I mean, as storytellers, whenever you do any art, you're trying to get the audience involved. You're trying to elicit a reaction, and that the audience would create their own art using those situations and those characters is just fabulous. It's just so randy.
So is that uncomfortable for you now that people are
taking the spike out and creating their own little spike box, or is it flattering?
I don't really, it's not really flattering or uncomfortable. I think it's awesome, just on an artistic level. It's great that people are creating, their own stuff. I think that, art is a human birthright. It's one of the things that makes being human worth it, along with good food. Really, being a human, like a dog. It's like, hi, I'm happy again, and I wake up, I'm like, not happy again. But so being able to create stuff, like I paint, right? I suck at it, but hey, I'm a human being. I'm gonna pick something. It's I don't have to try to sell it. I'm just gonna paint. And so
How much you want for it? What do you want? I'll pay anything. How much do you want for it? I'll pay.
But it's my human birthright to go and create that. And so I think it's fabulous. It's just if I read it, then I get embarrassed. Then it's just like.
Thank you.
Hi. So one of the things that's been really getting me through the past couple of months is constantly saying, what would Buffy do? And I had to leave my apartment complex due to a huge cockroach infestation. So I thought, instead of what would Buffy do, what would Xander do? What would Joyce do? What would Spike do? How would you handle a cockroach infestation?
Now, I know you asked them, but I probably have a lot more experience with cockroaches than anybody in this room, because I lived in New York. You come in at like 3 o'clock in the morning, you flip on the lights, and then you just go, and you kill them with your bare hands, because they're too fast to get nice about it. You can also take steel wool and a really thin flathead screwdriver, and you jam it into every single crack or crevice, and you can sometimes buy this illegal Chinese powder. And you draw a perimeter around the edge of the room, and if the cockroaches cross it, they die. And I know it's true because I've watched it happen. Don't leave, stay, and fight.
I remember when I lived in Astoria, Queens, I went to step on a big cockroach. I swear to God, it was this big, and it screamed at me. California kid,
Oh, but water bugs are a whole other story.
I tried to get this thing going on my Twitter. Water. I think you're coming at this the wrong angle. I think you need to ask yourself, what wouldn't win a counter event?
I can't keep up. I can't follow you.
I speak in mixed metaphors.
My question has to do with how much they continue to do these cons and panels, and the fan base is huge. I just wanted to know from each of you what your strangest fan encounter has been at one of these places, because we all know we're kind of drunk and crazy.
I've had some really good fan encounters, but that was a long time ago. I'm married now. In general, no. I mean, I have to say, anybody that likes Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, they have a sense of humor. It's kind of a line in the sand, and if you don't have a sense of irony, or if you take yourself or the world too seriously, you never watch the show to begin with. And so generally, I find that fan interaction is like, you guys are smart, you're funny, you're cool. I have a really good time. The weirdest thing that happened is when I went to London, and it was very early on. I think I'd only been on the show for half a year. And I went to London, and I was at a convention, and we were all hanging out, and this old lady came up and said, my friend has a favor to ask you. And I was like, yeah, sure, man. And the friend was like, even older. Like, she's like, turn around. And I was like, cool. And I hear a little voice, bend over. And I'm such an idiot. Idiot, I did it. And she grabbed my ass, just boom. And then I hear this word, now clench. And I just ran. It's like the cocktail party was over. And I was like, I'm back in my room now, and I was just sitting on the bed, shaking the shower. I don't believe what just happened to me. So now I'm careful. Because every once in a while, people do weird things. But in general, that's really by far the weirdest thing. Nothing even close to that is happening. But I also probably, maybe I'm better at setting boundaries.
I've been good. I think it's maybe my characters. Xander was more of the everyday guy, But I was talking to a couple friends last night about, and said, the fans have a sense of irony, which makes me. So Alanis Morissette's song isn't ironic. Of course, we all know that nothing in that song is ironic. But this is where the mind went yesterday. What if she knew that, right? And the irony is the fact that we're still talking about it 15 years later. Wouldn't that be fucking brilliant? And that's what she meant by this? That'd be awesome.
It would be if that were true.
Yeah, I know. I've had all my fan experiences have been wonderful, and that sounds like I would have felt weird. I would have been awesome.
That's not awesome.
You lady staying in the hotel? My room's right over there. I'll roll you over.
I find that the English are the naughtiest. They are.
You get kind of like the accent gives you like their profane is kind of like you're just very yes, and all of a sudden you're being kissed. I don't even know.
I think of the English like Vulcans, like they have this veneer of like proper behavior, but underneath is this roiling, passionate thing. Yeah. What is it when the Vulcans they're mating and they go crazy? Yeah, that's what they're always. The English are always on the pond farm. They're always in the pond farm.
Well, historically, they were sort of the barbarians to the north.
Yeah, Saxon.
Yeah.
I'm a Saxon.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm a really young watcher, and as you know in Buffy, there are a lot of allegories or life lessons, especially for a teenager. I was wondering what your favorite allegory or metaphor was to film.
Nick?
I've always said, if you're making love to a 2,000-pound gorilla, that's not over until the gorilla says it's over.
All of that. Go ahead. Just.
Tell me what.
I don't think. For me, the writers on Buffy every week, what they were being asked to do is to take their worst day, the day that they got humiliated, or the day that they hurt someone for no good reason, and then slap fangs on top of that and tell the world. So it was a sustained act of humiliation and bravery for the writers. I mean, truly, they were really bearing their souls to you guys constantly, and that's what I take away from it. They would never tell you the specifics. Like they'd come down onto the set and be like, "You realize what I just told you that I did one day?"
Yeah.
But they would never, you'd ask them like, "Well, what really happened?" And they'd be like,
Like if you sleep with the guy, he turns evil. Like, don't we all know that guy?
It happens with chicks too.
And chicks with dicks, it also happens.
A Whitney Houston restaurant downtown here? No.
Hey, brother.
Kristine, do people mistake you for sometimes in treat by law?
Say it again.
What was that?
Do people in real life sometimes mistake you for Miss Summers and treat by law?
I think do people mistake her that she's cosplaying for Buffy for Buffy's mom?
Yeah.
And then pretends that she's not Buffy's mom. That plays along like she's cosplaying as Buffy's mom. Is that the question?
Thanks for clarifying. Could you say that again? Maybe another language? Oh yeah, this is thank you. He always saves me. My daughter was living in Paris for a year, and she went to a bar downtown Paris, and she met a bunch of kids who were like around 19, who were at this bar from out in the suburbs of Paris. And so they're all talking in French and getting to know one another. And he says to her, this is totally random. You look so much like Buffy's mother. And she goes, yeah, she's my mom. And he goes, come on. And so she gets out like photographs in her iPhone to show him that I am in fact her mother. And he went, I knew that you have the same evil eyes. That might have gotten lost in translation.
I actually cosplayed as Spike one time. When my daughter was, I think she was like 8 years old, and she wanted me to take her trick-or-treating. And that day, we happened to be doing Spike and Vampface. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to go as Spike tonight. So I kept the costume. I just they released us, and I just got in the car as Spike. And we walked around the neighborhood, and all night, nobody recognized me. I just kept hearing, great Spike.
I vamped out once, but typically Xander was beaten up and bloody a lot. And there were just times where it was probably out of just laziness, I just wanted to go home, but I would love to kind of keep on, like when I had the worst battering and bruising and bloody stuff, I would keep my makeup on and then like drive through a drive-through.
Double cheeseburger.
I did that one time, and I forgot, because you get tired. We were known as Buffy the Weekends. Like we would work 12 to 20 hours a day, right? So when they released you, you want to go home and go to bed. And I forgot to wipe the blood off my face, and I was driving home, and the cops pulled me over, and they were serious. They're like, "Who did you kill?" They can tell the difference between like a wound and like as if you like got someone's carotid artery and got splattered with it. They're just like, look, I'm like, really? No, it's just, see, it's sweet. It's. This guy's a freak.
Taste it, no taste it.
We got it straightened out, but yeah, that was.
I'm going to apologize in advance again of 364 days a year because August 20th is the best birthday to have. We're the coolest. Happy belated birthday, Mr. Marsters.
Leos rock. They say that Leos that we have kind of a big ego about being Leos, but when your planet is the sun, it's hard enough to be a little bit proud.
would have changed it, or what your side of the story you would have wanted it to be? Would they have stayed together, or would you have kept it the way that it is?
I like looking at her. She was nice to look at, I just learned, listen, they did everything kind of perfectly. I'm not going to question Joss Whedon. Just because I like looking at her. It's like, hey, Joss, you know what I mean, really? She's got nice cleavage and stuff, and if we break up, I'm not going to be able to be in bed with her anymore and stare at her cleavage anymore. So, it's, in terms of storytelling, it was the right way to go. In terms of horny Nikki,
Hi guys, thanks for coming to DragonCon, by the way. So you all played your characters for a number of years, and I know a lot of actors begin to sort of take ownership of their characters. And even though you guys had the best writers that there ever have been, were there ever times when you looked at the script and said, I don't think that Joyce would do this, or I don't think that Spike would have done this, or Xander?
I to this day, it was horrible telling Buffy to leave the house. Because that just felt so totally out of character for a mother to do that under any circumstances. And that, I just wish that they'd found a different way, because that just wasn't right for me.
I was often terrified by what they made me do. I realized this season, I think it was 6, that I had to do to whoever they told me to do it, whenever they told me to do it, wear or not wear whatever they told me to not wear. And I got seriously terrified, and it started to become hard to come to work. It started to get hard to get out of bed. Because usually, like on a TV show, once you film the pilot, you know what you're basically going to be doing for the next 7 years. Because most television shows are boring, and most television shows do the same thing over and over and over again. So there's a safety in that. With a film, you can read it before you sign the contract and say, okay, I can do that, or I want to do that, or I don't want to do that, I pass. But with Joss Whedon, there's no rules at all, and you have no idea what you're going to be asked to do. And artistically, in hindsight, I'm like, man, that was awesome. I'm very proud of it. In the moment, I was terrified, truly terrified. But one of my favorite things was we would often have directors come in that had never seen the show before, and so I remember you were wounded. You were wounded over in Buffy's house, and everyone's crowded around you, and like, oh, Xander, are you okay? Right? And I'm over in the corner just going, yeah. And the director comes up to me and goes, hey, man, Xander is hurt, and you know and you're a regular, and he's a regular. You got to go care about him. And I'm like, no, it's okay. Because I love you, baby. I really do as a human being, but the characters don't know. It's like, they know Buffy's important. It's her sister, I suppose, but...
No, not really.
I would not have gone into construction. Build shit.
Hi, I was just wondering.
Yeah, yellow wasn't in my color wheel. So that yellow hat. I would think, like, I'll be under construction. I'm like, fuck, I gotta put that hat on. I gotta wear jeans. I gotta tuck my shirt into jeans. That's against everything I believe in. That's like a child molester fucking outfit, you know what I mean? Jeans, tuck your shirt in with a black belt, Have a pear-shaped body. Walk like a penguin. Getting a little personal.
I was just wondering if y'all could choose any other character in the Buffy world, which other character would you play?
Probably the character of Fran Kazumi.
Sit home and just collect the money.
Yeah. There's no way I would play a different character.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, maybe too long.
Gone in the comics.
I have to agree. I loved playing Joyce. I mean, my mom was a single mother. I liked being in that place. It was a good dress rehearsal for my own daughter, actually. You know, it was kind of interesting. I was like, wow, someday I'm going to be in this place.
What was it like when you were? What were the parallels?
Yeah, well, actually...
Great about being independent.
Get out of the house.
Actually,
I found that I kicked her out more than once.
no, my daughter's like kind of having a difficult time in her love relationship, and you know, she comes home and I dying to go, so what's happening today? You know, like what's he doing? All this, but I don't. I just like wait for her to talk to me about it.
Like
Sometimes he's a nice kid. but I wait. You know, I don't ask.
So what you're saying is you're just going to be single pretty soon.
Huh?
Is that what I'm hearing?
But I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, yeah, this is just what I do. This choice. You know, like you want to know. So people, it might look like you're in the background and not doing much, but you're dying to know. But you know that like you need to let your daughter have her space and have her life. So you sit back and wait for the news.
I should try that. My kids are...
I did have I always wondered, Buffy was always the main character because she was a slayer, but after Willow and Xander had saved the day or saved Buffy multiple times, Giles never offered them any training to help them stay alive.
Yeah, he's jealous. Clearly, he's jealous. There's only room for him. It was look back at their relationship. It's very unhealthy. Always traveling together. It was very inappropriate.
My question is for Kristine and James. Buffy's mom and Spike had a couple of really great interactions. The first time when Buffy is getting Spike's help and she lets Spike into the house, and then later in a couple seasons when Spike is in the process, I think he's got a ship where he's suddenly turning good, and then there's the interaction with Buffy's mom realizing, like, wait, this is that vampire that I met one time. So what do you think the relationship between those characters would have been like had Joyce not been killed?
Spike always had a soft spot in his heart for Joyce. I think instinctually, Spike fell in love with Buffy in the first episode. I mean, he was trying to kill her, but I think it was also really hot. You know, like he was attracted to her from the beginning, and so that extends to the mother, you know, and also to her little sisters. Like, oh, I love her, and then anybody in her immediate family, I also think that they're really cool too. But I think instinctually, I was like, and I think that was in the writing too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was but I was like confiding in you, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were sitting at the... Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I think from Joyce's point of view, it was like everybody else was so young, it was suddenly like, oh, we can talk.
Yeah.
That's a good point because I was also another puppy, but I never gave it. I mean, really. There was
Not until the potion.
Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered. Yeah, you were never on my radar, and when you're on my radar, I'm like, Jesus Christ, get off my radar. You know? But it's true because it's like, you know, is that the writing or it's like that pack mentality?
the Emmys and going, oh my God, that's Jonathan.
And you know, we did a panel yesterday with Jane Espenson, who's up here, and she was saying how in season 6, 7, Danny would kind of bring her scripts to read. He's like, would you mind reading them? And so she would. She's like, yeah, that one's got, it's good here, it's not great there. It's kind of got some promise. And then so finally, he did that a few times, and he's like, well, I wrote this other script. It's political. And Jane was like, she's thinking to herself, I don't want to read any more scripts, essentially. I was like, I'm done. And so she's like, okay, I'll take out reading. She's like, and it was recount. And she's like, you hit it out of the park, it's amazing. But she's like, you kind of pigeonhole yourself because there's only one place that would do this, and it's HBO. So you've limited your, and is that right? So with HBO? So, but it's funny, I didn't know that Jane was like reading his stuff back then. So it was kind of neat to hear that progression of it. Because I'm like, Danny Strong, he's a writer. She kind of came out of nowhere, But it's nice to know that he's working on it.
Another overnight success.
Yeah. 30-year overnight success. And I don't watch the Emmys, so I didn't particularly see that moment. But I do see Danny. Because, Danny, he was in the presentation. So, the one with the other willow. So I've known Danny for a long time. But I'm super stoked for him. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And have you guys seen The Butler? Yeah. Here? Has anybody seen The Butler? Yeah. Yeah, you wrote like, freaking awesome. Like 3 people have seen The Butler.
Go see it. It's so good. Ghost Dog is in it, man. Yeah. And Ghost Dog, too. Yeah. Forrest Whitaker. It's one of my favorite actors. He's really one of my favorites.
Oh, man. What was it? Idi Amin, where he played King of Scotland?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I was going to say that also Danny Strong is writing the screenplay for the final 2 Mockingjay movies. So it's kind of like a DragonCon explosion of nerdom, crossover Buffy.
Danny just had like a magic to him. Like he started as like in high school. If you need a student to say one line, it would always be Danny.
Yeah.
But he was the student. Well, I don't even think that in the scripts the student had a name. It was just like he always knocked it out of the park. And so Josh just said, yeah, we only have one other student that ever speaks in this high school. It's Danny Strong. And he just kept being amazing, and they just kept giving him a little more and more. He was fabulous. He still is, yeah.
Okay, so I kind of have this belief that Joss Whedon was kind of that nerd in high school that we all love. And he graduated and created cool, and now everyone loves him. He's like a household name after the Avengers. So what I want to know is if he came up to you and was like, hey, Avengers 2's coming out, who would you want to be? Any character in the Marvel Universe.
Captain America.
Mr. Freeze?
That's DC.
A Slinky's a wonderful toy. It's fun for a girl and a boy.
That's a tough one.
I get that a lot. I typically don't, because he didn't ask me. I don't give him much thought. There was a thing for a while where, like, there was an online thing where Bruce Banner, like the Hulk, would have been fun to play that character. But I think Mark Ruffalo's amazing too. Would I have been as amazing? I don't know. Probably not. No, don't worry about me. I'm doing just fine.
Hi. So Joss Whedon, especially
especially how Buffy was known for making character deaths as painful as they could possibly be, like Joyce and Tara, or badass sex fights. But Jesse was supposedly Xander and Willow's best friend, and he died, and he was just never ever mentioned again. So, what the hell was that?
Which is really odd, because I mean, Joss is typically all over that. I think Joss was upset because what he wanted to make Jesse bigger in the sense of he wanted to have what's the actor's name? Eric Balfour. He wanted to have Eric like in the titles with the series regulars, and kill him off in the second episode. And then the network's like, no, we have to pay him for the full season if that's the case. So they said, no, we can't do that. But so he wanted to always fuck with you guys from day one. And so I'm gonna kill what you thought was a series regular in episode 2. So I think maybe he was probably a little upset about that he couldn't get his way on that one. So he probably just wanted to forget about it.
This will be our last question.
Good morning. So we all know Buffy was a very physically demanding show, especially for Sarah Michelle Gellar, but what was the most physically demanding episode or scene for you guys?
Wielding that axe. It was heavy. And that was one of those Friday nights at like 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I think 2. I did a movie called Psycho Beach Party, and I had to sucked. I know this is a Buffy question, but I almost drowned, so I'm going to talk about this one. We were, Lauren Ambrose was playing Chiclet, and she was out there drowning, and we're in Malibu, at Point Doom in Malibu, which is a big cliff, we shot. And so she's out there, and I'm like, Chiclet, and I run in, and it's one shot, there's no coverage, because the sun's going down. And I go, and I gotta take her in, and she's acting, she's a great actress, she's acting like she's passed out. So and then I gotta carry her out of the water, and I'm taking it. My heart exploded. I had a cigarette before I went in the water. What am I? I'm looking up, my thing's just shaking, and I'm like, must be like sexy, you know? The thing's good, disgusting, horrible. I won't do that again. Anytime that we were shooting past midnight, and I had 2 scenes off, and I was awakened at 4:30 to finish my day, 4:30 in the morning was brutal. Because you're in your REM sleep, you know, it's like, and you're like, please just be behind us. We'll do it Monday. And you're like, yeah, ready for you. Fuck you. I'm like, could you at least give me a 5-minute warning, you know? So that was the most painful part.
That was the one time I heard a stuntman. I only tagged as a stuntman one time. Yeah, I asked him, look, it's a fight scene, it's raining, just wake me up 20 minutes before you want to shoot if I'm going straight into stunts. They're like, no problem. But of course, I'm ready for you now. Yeah, so it's raining cats and dogs. It's supposed to be that we're on grass, but we're on cement, and it's a really thin grass. It's like this thick. So we're sliding all around, and I'm supposed to, like, the gag is that Spike kicks the guy in the nuts, but you don't really kick him in the actual nuts. You kick him in the thigh, but I missed. And